I have around I've been working with startups for last 13 14 years in different domains. That includes SaaS, that includes blockchain, that includes business analytics. We have integration with 15 plus networks, onboarded 330 plus dapps who have built around 1,000 plus analysis, and we have around data of like 300 million wallet user data where analysis can be run. So our mission is making Web3 analytics accessible and simplified for everyone. The contradictory part is the data metrics reports are needed by the non-tech people. For example, CXOs, CMOs, I mean CEOs, product managers, but they need like a lot of developers, data scientists to build those. So we realized this gap. So we thought like what if we could bridge that gap? It's the only way to trust that project. The only way to trust that project is to go to platforms like data analytics platforms, see how that protocol is doing, how the TVL is, how the user base is growing. So how the KPI is. So how the key KPIs are.
Welcome to episode 9 of Into the Forest with Pine. Today I have Ape, the co-founder of Dapplooker. Let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're working on at Dapplooker.
Sure. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for the invitation. I've been following a lot of your videos, a lot of interviews, and they are really focused on data and analytics. So, I really love them because that's where I'm focused on. That's where Dapplooker is focused on. Talking about myself, I'm co-founder of Dapplooker. We have been I'm basically BTech computer engineering. I belong to army family, so my parents are retired from army, and I have around I've been working with startups for last 13 14 years in different domains. That includes SaaS, that includes blockchain, that includes business analytics. And in my last startup, I was like kind of leading the tech part of business analytics. So uh, so after that, uh, before starting Dapplooker, I've been like working with various individual dApps protocols, and I realized like they need a lot of, they were needing a lot of explorers, a lot of dashboards tracking their on-chain data, tracking their KPIs, tracking their dApp growth, and they were actually paying good amount of money for that also when like I was working individually with them, and that's where I realized the potential of data and analytics in Web3 because 2 3 years back there were very few tools which were doing this right. Doing this right, and so that's where looking at that gap, we started, me and my co-founder. My co-founder is also my brother, so we started Dapplooker, and the name suggests like so. There is a Web2 product called Looker, which is very famous, and decentralized apps on Web3 are Dapp. So it's Dapplooker, and that's where the journey of Dapplooker started 2 years back. And just to like give a brief about Dapplooker, so Dapplooker is a no-code Web3 analytics platform. Uh, we have integration with 15 plus networks, onboarded 330 plus dApps who have built around 1,000 plus analysis, and we have around data of like 300 million wallet user data where analysis can be run. So our mission is making Web3 analytics accessible and simplified for everyone.
Yeah, so your Dapplooker is one of the few like on-chain analysis tools that requires no coding skills. So like what opportunities do you think that opens up to like your users and kind of potential use cases that like a code required tool would not have that you guys have?
Sure. So one of the thing, one of the gap we saw that, so normally like data and analytics is considered very tech savvy. So only data analyst or data scientist can do that, and the so like companies or I mean companies pay a lot of money to them to for doing those analysis. Now the I mean the contradictory part is the data metrics reports are needed by the non-tech people. For example, CXOs, CMOs, I mean CEOs, product managers. So those are the people who need this kind of data. I mean on-chain analytics metrics. But I mean they need like a lot of developers. I mean, data scientists to build those. So we realized this gap. So we thought like, what if we could bridge that gap? Let's say if you can have a tool where so generally SQL is the de facto standard for building analytics. So what if uh, let's say a community member or a non-tech person or a CXO can come to the platform and I mean, do some clicks, do a few clicks, and without writing SQL, they can generate those reports. So I mean, this gap. So basically, we want to fill this gap. We want to, and what this eventually brings is that brings a lot of, I mean, community members, a lot of non-tech people who can also do analytics along with the, I mean, data scientists, data analysts. So and that basically like empowers I mean community members, that empowers non-tech people, even CXOs, even a person who is just starting a career in data analyst to uh, like build these complex reports with just few clicks. So we have like couple of solutions. So we call it like visual SQL, where it's a query builder. You can go there and do filter, sort, joins, create like dynamic columns and build those reports. And also we have like drag and drop dashboard builder where you can add as many analysis charts you want and build a dashboard there. So at Dapplooker, once your data is synced, you can basically create your analysis dashboard in few minutes. So you'll be able to build those analysis with which very fast, which eventually saves time and like saves a lot of money for you.
Yeah. So you've been doing startups for a while now, so this isn't your first go about, but what are kind of the challenges that you've faced while building Dapplooker?
Yeah, so there are multiple challenges. Like I'll focus like couple of them. One is I mean, so if you're building a no-code solution, you just need to make sure that the user experience goes. I mean, your building should be very right because uh, when you're basically so when you're converting, let's say, SQL writing language to a no-code solution, you need to know what are the different options the SQL provides, which can be given to a no code solution. So we had like multiple brainstorming sessions. We had a lot of like user experience discussion, and before building, we make sure that we're talking with the people, taking interviews to understand the pain points, and launching in multiple phases, understanding, taking the feedback, and then incorporating it. And also so this is one thing which I would say it's challenging, but also like it's an opportunity to opportunity which we are I mean which we are looking to grab. And the second thing is so let's say, I mean, so in Web3, there are 150 plus blockchains that they generate like a lot of data. There are like thousands of dApps. They generate like a lot of data. Uh, and so you also need to make sure that the infrastructure is right. Let's say if you're using a shared node versus a dedicated node, you get a like high throughput. You get a I mean uh, with a dedicated node. So we started with the shared nodes, like using like external services, but the throughput and the rate which indexer, which we also call it transformation engine, was not sufficient. So now like we make sure that we are running dedicated nodes. to extract the on-chain data and present it in a beautiful format so that the no-code tool works. And while also we also like when we partner with some of those protocols, ecosystems, so we make sure that if you're getting node from them, then it's dedicated for us so that there's no limit on throughput. And one third thing I would like to mention that now like the on-chain analytics is not good enough. There's also like the protocol dApps also need like off-chain analytics. So basically they want to do on-chain, off-chain together. So for that, like we have multiple solutions. So in on-chain, we support, I mean, network data. We support smart contracts as data sources. We support subgraph as data sources. One of the few platforms that support subgraphs, graph protocol subgraphs as data source. Uh, we also support like Polkadot data sources through subquery, and in off-chain so we along with that, so we realized, I mean, after onboarding a lot of dApps, we're realizing that people have data in CSVs, in Excels, people have data in JSON APIs, people have data in external services, so they want to get integrated that also. So we right now like we have support of CSVs, we have APIs and IPFS. So basically, you can on Dapplooker you can build analysis reports which has on-chain data as well as off-chain data together. So and the I mean we are always like taking feedback, talking with customers, and adding more and more data sources.
Through your journey, kind of doing this, what are like the biggest lessons you learned about your customers and kind of working with blockchains?
Yeah. So like when we started, I mean the customers they so they were like fixed. They were fixed. So when we started, like there are already solutions out there which were like quite popular, and they were doing like I mean a lot of, I mean they were doing some of the things correct. For example, I mean you can write SQLs to build and build those dashboards using those tools. So I mean, so the idea of identifying what's our niches, I mean, took time for us. So we started with MVP and like after talking with a lot of customers, a lot of interviews, we are also like just want to mention that we're also graph protocol indexer. So we realized like if you're then that if you're a subgraph, which most of like Web3 dApps have, they were needing kind of analytics platform through which they can build dashboards on top of subgraphs. So subgraphs are basically like open APIs, but I mean there were no tool which through which you can visualize it, or you can build no code dashboards without much hassle. So that helped us support subgraphs and data sources. So that was like one of the key learning where you can. So right now, like if you're a Web3 dApp, like Graph Protocol has support of 39 plus network. So there are like 100K plus subgraphs. So you can basically plug your subgraph and to Dapplooker and build no code dashboards in just minutes on subgraph data. And so I would say like so there's a like raw blockchain data. Then there is subgraph which is little refined on top of blockchain data. Now Dapplooker makes subgraphs visual. That makes like slice and dice of subgraph data using the tool, and it lets you build those reports like dashboards very quickly on subgraph data. So that is one learning, and like the no code aspect. So there are existing tools which only kind of the data analyst, data scientist could use, which is great. But we also need to. There are a lot of like non-tech people, CXOs, who kind of need these reports, metrics. So that's where our no code aspect fills in. And, and the third point I want to mention is that if you see like some of those existing platforms, I mean, uh, from the cost perspective, also it's quite on a higher side. So, for example, the plan starts from like $400 goes to $1,000. So, what Web3, I mean, what Web3 users need is they want like affordable solution. They want a solution which scales if their DApp grows. So that's where like our pricing comes, which is very different from other platforms. Other platforms like charge based on query, but ours is like you can, I mean, get started free, and as the project grows, as the data grows, as the let's say if you're deployed on one network versus two versus five, so there are different tiers, and it just the developer plan starts with just $99, so you can get started very like affordable, and as the project grows, you can choose the tier which you want to fit in.
That makes sense. So I guess I kind of want to circle back to your use of the graph protocol in Dapplooker. So I don't think everybody watching this will exactly know how the graph protocol works. So could you kind of talk about how the graph protocol works and how you guys leverage it and how it's kind of used in the greater crypto ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you don't mind, I can show a live demo if that's fine.
I don't think we can pull that up on here on the software.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, so uh, I mean, Graph protocol has open APIs called subgraph, and there are subgraphs on the hosted service, and they all. I mean, there's also like subgraphs on the network, graph network. So and so Graph protocol has support of like around 39 plus networks already, and like they have like 100K subgraph, which is like growing very fast quarter on quarter. So how these dApps, for example, Aave, Connect, all these like top dApps, Silo Finance, D5, NFT dApps have subgraphs in place. They have published their subgraph on the hosted service as well as on the network. So on Dapplooker, we have a registration form where a subgraph dApp can come can give the project name and also can give the API endpoint. So they can provide the API endpoint. And let's say if your subgraph is deployed on the network, then you can put you can give the graph ID as well as the API key, and that's it. So when you registered your project, uh, 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 like that, I mean, the ETL process runs, which populates the data in a very subgraph data in a very presentable format. And the cool thing is like we have integration with, we have integration with push protocol also. So let's say on Dapplooker, you can sign up by email as well as wallet. So if you have email, you get a notification through email that your data is ready for analysis, or if you're like signed up with wallet, you get a push notification also that on a push protocol app that I mean, the data is ready for analysis. You can come and start generating reports. So this way you can register your subgraph to Dapplooker, and when you go to the data, it makes like the subgraph data visual, where you'll see the different. So subgraph has different concept of entities. For each entity, we create a like table at Dapplooker where you can go. Now you can you see the data. Now you can use the no code builder to cross join to build like time series charts, uh, to build aggregated data. So all those SQL operations on subgraph data, you can do that, and you can build those dashboards very quickly on subgraph data. So basically, I mean, in one line, if I have to say, we make graph protocols visual. So all the data you see, all the subgraph data, which is APIs you see on the face, and it's available for slicing, dicing, for building reports, for building dashboards, and we have like around dozens of different visualization supports, which is keep like we are adding based on feedback. So yeah, it's very intuitive to build like no code dashboards on subgraph data.
Awesome. So, working with crypto data, you kind of get the experience of working with many different protocols across crypto. So, like, I guess zooming out a little bit, kind of like what has you excited in crypto and kind of why are you kind of, or why kind of did you decide to work here and like kind of what has you excited for the future?
Yeah, so uh, so like so what I would suggest that crypto Web3 still it's in very early stage. I mean, we have seen like couple of bulls, couple of bears, but I still believe we are very early. And the one way to and there are like there I mean there are like as a market there are lots of ups and downs because of I mean different scams and different things. Uh, but I believe that the only way to like bring more transparency or trust in Web3 is through data and analytics. So so let's say if you have to track uh, how a protocol is doing, let's say how a network is doing, or even how a token is doing from a retail investor's perspective, it's the only way to trust that project. So the only way to trust that project is to go to platforms like data analytics platforms, see how that protocol is doing, how the TVL is, how the user base is growing. So how the KPI is, so how the key KPIs are. So go, going ahead, I mean, going in the future, I mean, I'm also seeing like a lot of due diligence when you're like doing partnerships or onboarding customers projects. So data, I mean, plays a major role in it. So there'll be a huge demand of I mean, database solutions, database decision making, database. I mean, based on data, there'll be a lot of more and more protocols will come up. Uh, so, I mean, I mean, I see the future still like early. There's a there's huge scope going forward, and it'll be more robust, more data oriented going forward.
Awesome. I think this is a great way to end things. Thank you for coming on to Into the Forest with Pine.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for the invitation. Love talking with.
Awesome.